Summer League continues to roll on. Who are some of the top impressive players? We're going to go over most of the top 10 in the lottery, plus some other guys that have stood out, as well as some sophomores. Find out who has stood out coming up on Locked On NBA Big Board. What's up? My name is Richard Stayman. You might know me better as Mavs Draft. I do NBA Draft scouting reports, as well as mock drafts and community mock drafts, some high school, college, international. I just do a lot of basketball as well. I'm joined by James Barlowe, who loves talking NBA Draft. He's one of the best rising stars. If you're not listening to him and you're not reading his stuff, check him out at Draft Junkie James. And then we got Leif Thulin, who is the college basketball guru. We got quite the squad here. We haven't had the three of us in a month.
It's a three-man weave right here.
Yeah, the three-man weave. I love it. Yeah, so it's a good crew. I'm excited for this. How are y'all doing right now? And what's y'all's summer league takeaways so far?
Go ahead, Leif.
I'm doing well right now. I just played some tennis, so I'm pretty exhausted. But the summer league for me has been the top 10 that we thought was pretty weak. They're standing out. Like, we've had top 11, I should say. There have been standouts from the top 11 that you probably wouldn't have assumed would stand out in a positive way. I would say the majority of those top 11 picks have had standout performances already, and that's pretty rare, and especially considering how negatively we viewed the top of this class.
Yeah, man, I 100% agree. Everybody was like the class is weak, and it feels like almost everybody, like you said, in the top 10 has had a moment. We've had guys outside of the top 10 that have had moments. And again, summer league is don't overthink it, don't over-evaluate it, but it's good to see guys playing well.
Yeah, I agree. And before we dive into too much, just want to thank everybody who continues to listen to Locked On NBA Big Board and make us your first listen of the day. Really means a lot to us. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, so let's talk about some of these guys. Let's just start at the very top of the draft. We got Risacher versus Sarr. What did y'all think of that game on Saturday? We didn't go over this on Monday's episode with just me and Leif. Let's talk about that game. What did you guys see with Sarr? What did you see with Risacher? Who do you think did better? And just for reference, let's just pull up for fun here their stat lines. I should have had this one a little bit more ready, so forgive me. That was on Friday night. The Hawks lost that one. Actually, the Wizards won 94-88. Sarr went for 4 of 12, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 12 points, 1 steal, 1 block. It's a little out of order. 2 turnovers, 2 of 5 from 3. Zaccharie Risacher went for 18 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block on 7 of 16. Shooting his was pretty standard, I would say. What did y'all think of those two?
Yeah, I thought Risacher looked good. He showed some shot creation. He showed some good pace handling the ball. But he ultimately, again, I thought he played well in this setting. I didn't think he would necessarily struggle, but I didn't think he would have like a standout game. He had some moments where, putting the ball on the ground, creating for himself. But I think he played pretty well. As far as Sarr goes, yeah, man, it's not looking – he's probably been I guess you could say, one of the disappointments so far with just how he's played offensively. But defensively, he looks fine. Like, he had a segment, I think he blocked like 2 or 3 shots on one possession. He slides his feet, but he's a man without a country on offense right now. Like, I don't think he has an identity as far as what he wants to do. I don't think he knows who he is. And ultimately, I think he should embrace playing the 5, but him thinking that he's a 4-man, I think it's got him all kind of confused right now.
Yeah, and I think this is something we touched on at times, talking about his ceiling versus his floor. And I wasn't overly high on either of those things for him, just because there was a lack of identity of what position he'd play. Like, what he wanted to play the 4, I think it makes more sense for him to play the 5, and neither of which he's offensively suited to be excellent at. And so it makes me a little hesitant to say there's this two-way value that you assume you're getting with a number 2 pick. Like, I think the defense is good and you expect that to be good. But offensively, I think there's a little bit more you can glean from a center struggling in the summer league. If he were playing the center, if he's playing the 4 and he's playing out of position, there's a little less leeway to me, because if you're a center and you're struggling, it's like, oh, the guards aren't getting him the ball in good spots. At the 4, he's supposed to be creating a little bit for himself, especially as the number 2 pick. And I just haven't seen that at this point. And as for Risacher, I think it's kind of what we expected. We saw him get the ball because he was the number 1 pick, but what he really is an off-ball wing supplementary player. And so I thought he performed well considering the AAU run and gun nature of summer league.
Yeah, with Sarr, like you said, if he played the 5, I think he would get the shots that he wants, because you see Bub Carrington, who we'll probably talk about later, is finding guys. But right now, Sarr is trying to like put the ball on the ground. He's shooting sidestep threes, and I'm like, well, why are you even doing that? And I'm pretty sure Patrick Ewing's at home like, man, did you work on that shot? What is that? Because like this last game that he played, he's just not playing well right now, and he just doesn't know what he's doing. I think he's like 8 for 26 from the field in 2 summer league games. And for your 4-man, your number 2 pick, again, I know it's summer league, but we can't blame the guards when your point guard is playing excellent basketball. It's just like, I don't think he knows what he's doing, and he's trying to figure it out. He just doesn't look comfortable out there.
Yeah, and he's taking a lot of crazy shots. I mean, I get it. Like, summer league's kind of a way for you to expand your range and expand, like, not necessarily range of jump shot, but like just range of how you play. But some of it's just not in his wheelhouse, right? Like, it's these crazy shots. I mean, he had a between the legs step back that got blocked, like things like that. I appreciate that, like that he can try it, but like, why are you trying that? Like at the same time, like that's something that you do like in garbage time, whatever, not like in the first quarter of a game against the Rockets, which is exactly when it happened. So that's my issue with him. Is just like, I feel like he's not. I don't know if he's not taking it seriously. There was a 3-on, or was it? I don't remember if it was 3-on-1 or 4-on-1.
4-on-1. He shot a pull-up 3.
Yeah, and he missed. And it's like, okay, I get what you're going for, but like one of 2 things is happening. You're not processing the game, or you're not taking it seriously enough. And both of those are kind of red flags. I will say the fixing the pull-up one is much easier than the between the legs. Like if it's that he's not processing in that situation on that 4-on-1, that is a ridiculously easy fix. Jalen Suggs in his rookie year was so bad at recognizing where the holes in the defense were. Now he's gotten significantly better at it. Obviously, he's a guard that's versus a center, different, but I think there are similarities there. So I get it. Like I have concerns with what Sarr has shown personally. What about with Risacher? Let's wrap up the Risacher talk. What did y'all think of his self-creation as a whole? Because obviously that wasn't a strength, and I know we touched on it a little bit, but do you see that end up being something in his wheelhouse? Like even in spot minutes, what do y'all think?
I don't know if it's like a, hey, number 1 pick type of strength, but I think he looks more fluid and a little more dynamic than I anticipated. Like I said, I don't think the summer league setting's a good one for him. And if he were to be playing an open gym versus some of the better athletes, he wouldn't stand out as much. So his fluidity and the fact he looks a little bit more athletic is good, but I'll never really see him as this dynamic creator you'd hope to get as a scoring wing on a number 1 pick, or much less a top 5 pick. And James and I touched on this a million times right before the draft, is I compare him to Cam Johnson. I don't think Cam Johnson, no matter how good he is going to be, is ever going to be someone you fear with the ball on the floor. I don't think Risacher is ever someone you game plan to put the ball on the floor, even if he is ahead of Cam Johnson in that department.
Yeah, even the second game, like he showed flashes the first game a couple of times, but the second game he struggled against San Antonio, and then the 3-ball wasn't there. And he finished with 11, but I mean, he got obviously like first pick volume. But again, ultimately, like Leif said, it's gonna be bonus for what he brings to the table as far as like a tall shooter, off the ball cutter kind of guy. So I mean, he's performing about how I expected him to perform.
No, I think that's fair. Well, let's talk about some of the other guys in this draft that have had strong starts. Reed Shepard, Matas Buzelis, Rob Dillingham, and some other guys as well as some of the sophomores. But first, let me talk to you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. And it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on the YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. Back here with, where are they? Let's see where they are. There's one of them. I'm going to get these right. There they are. Back here with James and Leif. I'm very technically sound, of course, as you guys can all see. Let's talk about some of the other guys. We talked a little bit. Leif and I talked about Reed and Matas, so we won't go over them too long. But James, what did you think of Reed and Matas over the weekend?
Reed looks like a summer league star. Let's just leave it right there. Like, his pace has been incredible. His shooting has been great. His playmaking has been very good. He looks like he got that Coach Cal opposite of stimulus package, where you're way better as a professional basketball player than you were at Kentucky. I've been very impressed with him. I will say the game tonight on a Monday, the 15th, against the Pistons, he did struggle shooting. They did a good job. You could tell that the Pistons were locked in. Especially the Pistons guards. They were locked in on like making it tough for him. And he still got shots. He still got to his spots. He just didn't shoot the ball particularly well. A couple of floaters were off balance, but I've been really, really impressed with Reed Shepard. As far as Matas goes, the first game he struggled. I feel like the box score the second game was better than he actually played. He did make some three-pointers, but it's kind of like his highs were extremely high, the dunks, the threes, and then his lows were the lows that you saw in the G League, losing the ball, not being able to handle any kind of contact, putting the ball on the ground, missing jump shots like he shouldn't, as for somebody who has a reputation of supposing to be a shooter. But again, the 28 looked good, and you'll take that. And like I said, he's trending upward to see what he looks like in his third game. But I just kind of feel like when you dig into past like the highlights, there's still some, I guess you could say, some red flags, which is how he plays long term. But again, he's active on defense, and that's something that you can appreciate, especially for a guy who put the chip on his own shoulder and he feels like he's better than the number one pick. Why have the Hawks and the Bulls not played each other yet? I don't know.
Yeah, I thought like 1 versus 2 should always happen fine. Like the top 4 facing off against each other, I get. Why did they not put that? The storylines were right there for him. It would have been probably the most watched summer league game because I think people cared so much about that outside of like Bronny. Like maybe if Bronny was randomly on deck or something, you get it as most watched. But yeah, I think that was. I agree. Leif, what did you think of Matas?
I was impressed with his. I mean, we saw it from last year, and he was at the combine last year. Even though he didn't participate, we saw him, and he was just gangly and thin. This year, he looked the part as an NBA athlete against athletic competition in the summer league. Like, that's not what's lacking in the summer league compared to the NBA. There's a bunch of great athletes. There's just a lesser skill level. So Buzelis, despite not being a great shooter, in my opinion, still is able to leverage his athletic traits and get into the paint and played a little more composed, a little more controlled than I think I expected, and certainly more than he did in the first game. I was impressed with his composure and strength, kind of the recipe of that, which I would say are question marks for him. If he does that well, he elevates his stock to me. I still don't think he's a very good shooter, but he was able to use some of that athleticism, coordination at the size to create advantages for himself. And I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, man, he's a tease, man. He'll make a play and be like, man, he should have been a top 3 pick, or I see it. And then he'll, dribble down the court, fall down. And it's just like, it's going to be interesting to see like how this works out from over, especially this year, but really in the next couple of years.
Yeah, what about Reed Sheppard? Because we talked about these two on Monday's show. What about Reed Sheppard he's been shooting the lights out, pretty consistent overall. I mean, he went 9 of 15 first game, 9 of 17 the second, or maybe vice versa. Struggled a little bit on Monday night. The whole Rockets team did. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit more. Went 6 of 17, but still found ways to impact the game. What do you think of Reed so far? I'll let James get that one first.
Yeah, like I said, I really like Reed. He's been very impressive, man. He's played extremely well. And I like the pick for the Rockets. It's interesting that I don't know how true it is, but they said the Hawks really loved him, but they decided to go in a different direction. I get it. You look at the roster construction, but I mean, if you like the guy, just take him. But I think he's going to work out really, really well. And if we're doing the betting favorites, I mean, he'll probably win Summer League MVP, depending on how far the Rockets go. And he should be a favorite to be a Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, what I was most impressed with Sheppard is the pace he's playing at, because you knew he could shoot, and I think in the setting where it's kind of up and down, it favors him as a creator because he doesn't have to make half-court reads. He doesn't have to come off screens and be a difficult decision maker facing different defenses in the Summer League. What you're seeing is pace, which allows him to create in space, shoot the ball well, obviously, demonstrate a handle. But I've been impressed with his change of pace and then his just general quickness compared to athletic competition. And it's one of those ones, I said this on yesterday's episode, but he's one of those guys that's really good at basketball, and it becomes overthought because I still think he's not a good NBA defender, but the intangibles are there. He makes an impact on the basketball game, and you're seeing it at the next level, which is the Summer League, and then you'll get another leap up and play in the actual NBA. But what you see is a control, a sense of urgency, but a sense of calm when he has the ball in his hands or he's on the basketball court. And it allows him to be productive, even if he's not a good athlete relative to the competition once he's in the NBA. Even if he's not a good defender, he at least knows where to be. The questions I have are more how good of a point guard he can be, because he, in this Summer League, has shown just the ability to control a basketball game, which is a big thing.
I think his athleticism is going to be perfectly fine because he's quick, and he's quick when he needs to be quick.
I was saying more defensively. He's not like a hound.
Yeah. But I mean, he finds a way to steals. Like we saw that at Kentucky. I mean, he plays the passing lanes well. But yeah, they're going to go at him, but I think he'll be fine. I'm not too concerned. He's actually probably been the most impressive rookie to me thus far. Him and Bub Carrington.
Yeah, that's a perfect transition right there. Let's talk about Bub. What have you liked so far on Carrington with the Wizards? We obviously talked about Alex Sarr, but what do you like about Carrington so far?
Me and Leif talked about it. We wouldn't be surprised if he would be the best point guard from this draft, and he looks like it. The shots that he's taking are the shots that you want your point guard to take. I think he's playing very, very well. We knew at 6'5" he was going to make plays and rebound, and he's filling the stat sheet. And really, it was just going to come down to him making shots. And like I said, he has the talent, he has the mindset, he has the IQ. The commentators were talking about how much of just a great kid he is. Like, he checks so many boxes, and he's still 18 years old. So the roof is the ceiling.
I even said on, I don't remember what podcast, but I said this when James and I on there, I thought Carrington landing with the Wizards was just as likely, if not more likely, to have a better season than Sarr, because he just have the ball, and like especially once Avdia went to a new location, he's in Portland. You see the opportunities became so like the door is so far ajar that you kind of want someone to seize it by the reins, and you'd rather it be a point guard than anyone else. So I think Carrington has a chance to have a special rookie season because he's going to have every chance to do so. And he's got the game, the ability to navigate pick and rolls. Like, what's important in the NBA are his strengths: navigating pick and rolls, knocking down open shots, creating for others out of pick and rolls and advantage situations. All those things he excels at. And so I actually think he's going to have a better rookie year than Sarr.
I like that. I'm pretty big on the Carrington fate. I feel like they hit really well with those 3 picks. Like, even if Keyshawn George doesn't become some great player, it's fine. They at least take like a good swing at an off-ball player, and then you have Sarr. You got Carrington. I think they took 3 great swings. And I personally, I just believe that Carrington's going to get there, though. Like, I just, like you said, he's going to get all the reps. He runs a good pick and roll. He should make Sarr better, and that in turn is going to make him better. And I'm interested to see how he looks on defense. He's got a long ways to go on that. Screen navigation's rough, but he's going to be a good player. Like, I think he's somebody we're pretty universally high on. I was very late to that party. I was pretty low on him for the first, really until May. Really, like the combine, I revisited, watched a different approach after
Leif and I saw the heck out of the ball.
Yep.
I remember the conversation. We're sitting there and you're like, how real do you think Bub Carrington's shot is? I looked to my right and I think he made 22 of 25. And I was like, it looks pretty good to me.
Yeah. That was when I was like, all right. I saw, if you go back, if you're a sicko and you want to do this, if you go back and watch the game against West Virginia, he had a really bad outing. He was getting blocked on a jumper going under the screen from the defender. It was just outright pretty unimpressive, and I didn't feel like his scoring was there. And then I watched the North Carolina game in the ACC tournament. Just a whole different player. I saw the upside of a 3-level scorer who can attack off of screens, and I think that's what Washington saw to take him in the lottery. And I also think it was a good pick. But we'll talk about some of the other guys coming up, as well as Dillingham, Ron Holland, and we're going to talk about some of these sophomores as well, and anyone else that slipped in a little rapid fire. But first, let's talk about FanDuel. I love sports, and I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs have wound down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel wants me to keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, last segment. Let's talk about Rob Dillingham, who I still cannot believe we're saying this, but he is a Minnesota Timberwolf. It still is a surreal sentence to say out loud. What have y'all thought about Dillingham's game in Minnesota?
He can play.
Yeah, he can play, and he's not making shots. Couple shots. He could clean up his shot selections, but like people can't stay in front of him, and he's making the right read. And the thing with Rob, I guess you could question is his playmaking, as far as how's he gonna balance shooting and passing, because you have to think in his head nobody can guard him, right? He feels like nobody can guard him and people can't stay in front of him, and he understands that. But I think he's doing a solid job of making plays. In transition, he's finding the right guys. I think him and Terrence Shannon, they have like a chemistry already. A couple of these shots that Rob is taking, they're difficult. He can go back and correct those, but I like him still. I think he's playing well, and he's playing okay, and he hasn't had his breakout game yet, and I think he's due for one where he just makes everything, but I've been satisfied with his performance thus far.
Leif, by the way, before you go, Leif is the president of Dillingham Island, so go ahead, Leif.
I mean, honestly, I think it's exactly what he's good at. It doesn't matter if it's a pickup run, a summer league game, a Kentucky basketball game. He's going to get a good shot. Like, it's not necessarily a good shot in terms of like, can every player do that? But for him, he shot 45% from 3 at Kentucky, shooting on the exact same diet of shots you're seeing in the summer league. Like, he off the dribble was unbelievable at Kentucky. Catch and shoot, he was 50% from 3. So he can really shoot the ball. And then you look at what I think is the most impressive part of his game is he can get into spots that no one else in this draft class can get to, using guile, finesse, speed, creativity, and then he passes out of those. Like, Reed Sheppard only shot 4 off-screen threes at Kentucky the entire season, largely because Dillingham was the guy that they thought should have the ball in his hands, and he would create for Sheppard, who was obviously a great shooter in his own regard, no matter what. But he got great looks because of the creativity and individual brilliance of Dillingham. And Dillingham in the NBA level, this is a long-winded way of saying he's doing exactly the same thing, but it's just there's better athletes and he's missing a few shots. Like his first game, he had 8 points in 2 minutes. 8 points in 2 minutes and created as well for others. And you watch him come off the screens, and he's one of those guys I watch as someone who used to play point guard at an okay level. I don't know, nothing special, but I like to see when a player can put an emphasis on the game. Like he will put his mark, his stamp on the game where he's going to get to a spot and he's going to be a threat to score as well as give someone who has a better chance to score the ball. I think too many of the players are either cautious about, oh, how do I impact the game? Oh, I'm going to be a point guard today. I'm just going to pass. Or I'm just going to score today. And there's no in between. He does both really well. And it's clear to me that when he has the ball, that Minnesota does something positive.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say Dillingham had 13 to 2 assists to turnovers. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, you'll take that. And you know what? As the vice president of Dillingham Island here, I feel like he's been competing on defense. And that's all you ask for somebody who's 6'5", 165. Like, just give me your best effort. And, we'll teach them how to funnel guys to the paint, play those passing lanes, and fight over screens. Like, just compete. We know you're at a disadvantage physically, but you can use your guile, you can use your speed, you can use your basketball IQ to get stops.
Yeah, this will be the last thing I say about Dillingham, then we'll go on to Ron Holland. But with Dillingham, there was a game, if you go back to the CBS Sports Classic when they played North Carolina, that was the most intense effort I've seen from Dillingham in any game. He was actually trying, and that was where I was told, I was like, you know what, he's not horrible. He's just super skinny, and then every other game negated that. But like, he's so bad in the pick and roll. But the thing is, when he's on an island, he competes really hard. I mean, there was a play he shut down Harrison Ingram in that game. And like you said, he's at a disadvantage physically, being like, what, 6'1", 165 or something. Like, that is a massive undersized player. And like, he still forced turnovers. Like, he was competing really hard when he wants to be playing hard on defense. Like, he's actually not awful on the ball. It's a lot of the stuff like pick and roll defense and just like you said, how to funnel and how to play general team defense is where he really is weak. Let's talk about the last one here, Ron Holland, and then this is kind of a segue into some of the sophomores. So the Pistons played on Monday night. Ron Holland did not play. I don't remember the reason. It was probably injury. He didn't have a great first game against the Sixers in Vegas. 15 points on 15 shots. 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 1 steal, 1 block, was blocked 5 times, had 7 rebounds. What has been your general, I guess this one game, I can't really have any big takeaways beyond one game. What did you guys think of Holland's game?
I just thought he was a good athlete. Like, you watch the AAU style of a game, and he was clearly a superior athlete. There was a confidence about the way he played as well, which I think was good. I think he's going to be a guy that you need to have this internal self-belief because he's going to have shaky shooting numbers. He's going to have inconsistent playing time with different players all the time because the Pistons are just kind of a train wreck in terms of who's going to be prioritized. But the fact that he was confident and tried to be assertive and he looked the part as an athlete, which is not a surprise. But, you never know how people move up to people being closer to their level athletically. So I was impressed with that. I mean, swing still the shot. Like, there's nothing like novel about that, but I was just, the mentality was impressive for me.
Yeah, he's only played the one game, and he looked like, whether you think that's good or bad, he looked like the G League Ignite Ron Holland.
Yep.
So there were times he was out of control. Man, there was a 3-on-1 fast break. He had a shooter on the wing, and he just kind of ran into the guy in front of him. Stuff like that he needs to tighten up. I don't know why he didn't play tonight. I didn't hear anything about injury because I know he hurt his thumb. So, I mean, like, I don't think they take precautions with thumb injuries like that. I wish he would have played tonight. Hopefully he's not done. But I don't like the fit for him in Detroit, man. Everybody needs to get better. Will he have his opportunities to get better in Detroit? I don't know because they have so many guys. They brought in Tobias Harris. They brought in Malik Beasley, I believe, right?
Yep.
Like they're bringing in veterans who can play. And then on top of that, he needs like wing minute reps. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out for Ron.
Yeah, I think there's lineups that can make it work. And I think what Leif said is really true, right? Like he just won with athleticism in the plays he did do well in. But it was generally pretty poor. Let's talk about one last thing here. So like I said, the Pistons played the Rockets on Monday night. Let's talk about just a couple sophomores. This will be very, very fast. First of all, the Blazers are the ones that held Scoot Henderson out. So if you're wondering why he's not in, it was their call, not his. Then you got guys like Jaime Jaquez, where you're wondering how the heck is this guy even out here still? Like he needs to just he can retire from summer league. He's too good. He had like I forget what the exact stat line was. I remember at one point seeing 29, 10, and 5. And look, man, when you're doing that, I'm pulling it up. He finished with 25, 5, and 2. I was way off. I combined his with someone else's stats. But point is, in 24 minutes, he had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 3 of 5 from 3. I mean, like,
why is he out there, man?
There's some of these guys where I'm like, man, like, you don't need these reps.
Why is Podge out there?
Yeah, like he doesn't need to, and he's in trade talks. But the other one I wanted to talk about was Cam Whitmore, because kind of like Holland, Whitmore's game is very, very meant for summer league. He had a bad game Monday, and it was very bad. I don't care because actually, one, he had 2 good games prior. And on top of that, though, he was playmaking. Like, he was making plays, 5 assists, 0 turnovers, even though he went 1 of 15 for 5 points. Like, you had 5 assists and 0 turnovers with 15 shots. Fine with me. Like, yeah, you missed. It sucks. You'll get over it. How he responds next game is going to be big. If he comes back with an even okay efficiency game, I think that's telling. But are there any other sophomores that have made a name for themselves, better or worse, that you guys have seen?
I was impressed with, from what I've seen, I thought Imani Bates played very well that second game. He rebounds, he was making plays. He looked unselfish. And I don't know, I think they're trying to figure out what to do with Okoro. I don't know how he cracks that rotation because they did pay Max Strus some money. They drafted Jalen Tyson. We didn't get to talk about him, but he's played pretty well. But I think Imani Bates, he's played good considering the rep that he has as a person who's trying to get his buckets. He's doing a little bit of both as far as scoring and making plays. So he's been good for summer league.
Yeah, he's another guy who he was horrible on Friday, and then he bounced back, and that's where it matters how you bounce back. Leif, what about you? And then I got one more after that.
I mean, Keontae George scored 60 points in 2 games, so not too shabby.
These are a lot of shots.
But honestly, I thought he wasn't very good the first one. He just got the free throw line a lot, and it showed the shooter's mentality of like, hey, I'm missing. I'm kind of struggling with the ball pressure, but I'm going to score. And once he settled down into the game, he was very good. And then he played the Wednesday. So he played Monday and Wednesday, didn't play Tuesday. And he found a way to score 60 points through 2 games. So that's worth a nomination. And then G.G. Jackson, I saw in Summer League in Utah. And he didn't look that great against the Jazz. But then you watch him the other day, I think it was today, at 23 and 11, if I remember correctly.
Yep, that's whose stat line I confused with Jaime.
Yeah, 23 and 11. And he was just easily dominating. Like, he was a better athlete. And some people are like, oh, Gigi's like a good athlete, but he's kind of slow laterally last year. Like, he's more like a theoretical athlete. Oh, he's not that good of a shooter because he shot 29% at South Carolina. Well, I had him number 7 for most of the draft class last year. I'm kind of annoyed at myself. I moved him down even a little because he had a bad combine. Didn't learn he was sick until after the combine. Kind of devastated there, but I'll keep my receipts. He would have been the number 1 pick of this year's draft.
Easily.
And he showed it. Like, I think he's been the best player other than Jaime Jaquez in all the summer leagues.
Yeah.
He's 19, right?
Yeah. He hasn't turned 20 until like December, I think. October, December, November, somewhere in the last 3 months.
I would play him one more game and tell him he needs to go make plays.
I like him getting all these reps. Like, he should play for the duration of summer league, but yeah, change how he's doing it. One other guy that I like, I wanted to talk about the Magic, but we just don't have enough time to talk about every single player. First of all, shout out Tristan Da Silva. He's played really well so far. but also Jet Howard. Jet Howard's a sophomore where I think we've forgotten about him because he was stashed in the G League and people thought because Orlando intentionally did that he's not a good player. And I think that is not the case. He's been looking very athletic. He's getting shots up from 3, 6 of 11 on Sunday against the Pelicans, 8 of 15 on Friday against the Cavs. I really liked what I saw from Jet Howard. Really seems like he's ready to take a step, at least heavily competing for a rotation spot with the Magic. That's as far of a takeaway as I have. That team still needs shooting, and he's a shooter now, and he really was. But he knows how to play the game and be more well-rounded when his shot's not falling. And I think that's something where the Magic could easily use him right now. Any thoughts on Jet before we wrap up? It's okay if the answer is no. I'm the resident Magic guy, so I figured I would touch on him real fast, get a look on him. But that's pretty much our wrap up on the first weekend of Summer League. We'll be talking about Summer League for pretty much the duration of the week. We'll talk also about Peach Jam this week if you're into high school hoops. But for James and Leif, thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back tomorrow.